Hello there my friends, you're listening to Ebird Online and I'm back with another review. So today I'm going to be talking again about Brittany and Yazan. And for this video I'm going to be focusing on the story so far of Yazan and also the recent developments in Yazan's life, otherwise known as Down and Out in Jordan. This is 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, Series 2, Episode 16, Consequences of Truth. And just very quickly guys, I'm so sorry I haven't been around for the last week, but my mother-in-law had to have a pacemaker fitted, and so Ebird has been doing her Florence Nightingale for a week. But I've just watched this week's episode and I'm going to be covering Brittany and Yazan, and hopefully tomorrow or Saturday I'm going to be covering Kenneth and Armando, the story so far. If you're new here, welcome, and please don't forget to click the subscribe button and join the Ebird family. And also guys, please don't forget to hit the like button to help your girl with her analytics. Right, so we've got an awful lot to get into. And so without further ado, I give you Brittany and Yazan. So last week, as you know, I focused on Brittany, but today I'm going to focus on Yazan, which is a damn sight more than Brittany does. So Yazan is 24 and he lives with his parents in Jordan. He works in his family fish shop and he met Brittany online when one of her friends was talking to his flatmate. Both Brittany and Yazan claim it was love at first sight. They chatted online for 4 weeks and they got on really well. And the truth be told, I don't really understand how this is possible. As far as I'm concerned, Brittany is the human embodiment of a sleeping tablet. But nevertheless, Yazan was hooked. Brittany's a part-time rapper, a part-time model, and a full-time freaking liar. And just so you know, she's only good at one of the three. And so when we first saw this couple, Brittany was going to Jordan, and upon arrival at the airport, she hugged one of the production crew, and she also brought out, I think, a bottle of Jaeger out of her bag. And Yazan went absolutely ballistic. He lost his ish. And Brittany was absolutely flabbergasted by his reaction. And he stormed off and he was shouting at her and he was saying, you can't kiss people, you can't hug people, and you can't show alcohol in public. And guys, to start off with, I did think, Brittany, you know this, alcohol is prohibited. This I'm sure you know. But apparently she just bought it in duty free in Jordan. So I can understand really why she didn't think it was that much of a big deal. And Yazan dropped her off at her hotel room and stormed off. They finally made up, but the drama continued. Brittany went to meet his parents and she sat and had a chat with his dad. And Brittany and Yazan were sitting there and his dad actually asked Yazan why she was there. Is she going to convert? Well, I guess she might, but first she'll have to convert to a human and then to Islam. But what was really weird, guys, was that Yazan said to his dad, yeah, don't worry, we're going to get married. And she's totally agreed to convert to Islam. But that wasn't in any way true. Brittany had confirmed no such thing. The most she'd said is, I'll think about it. It's a big decision. That's the first thing. That's going to be a problem. And as I'm sure you guys know, Brittany is still married and is yet to get a divorce. She hasn't told Yazan about this. And so her parents are looking for them to get married very soon, but it's not going to be physically possible. The arguments continue. Yazan's mum had an argument with Brittany, and she actually kicked her out of the house. And so Yazan decided to get his uncle involved, and he believes his uncle can act as a go-between between the couple and Yazan's parents to try and smooth out their differences. And to be fair, it was a good call because the uncle is quite progressive and he said to Brittany and Yazan, I agree with you, you need to get to know each other a little bit more before you commit to marriage. Brittany needs to get to know the Muslim culture, which I think on balance is the intelligent thing to do. But Yazan hasn't made things easy because he's told his dad that Brittany's happy to become a Muslim, and he's also said, we do want to get married. And so straight up I'm thinking this can't possibly work. And so a few weeks ago, Yazan and Brittany go to a restaurant and they talk about what's on Yazan's mind and what the problems are within their relationship. And one of the massive problems is that Brittany, who's a rapper and a part-time Insta model, has posted some rather racy photos on her social media. One of Yazan's family members has found these photos and sent them to the whole family, including Yazan's dad. He's not at all happy, and Yazan confirms to his dad that Brittany's happy to delete the photos, and he does this without even asking Brittany first. And Brittany, God bless her, she said, I can't believe his family would do this. These pictures were private. These were on my social media. Brittany, Instagram isn't private unless you make your settings private, which obviously you haven't done. Instagram is a public platform. And Brittany tells Yazan in no uncertain terms she won't be bullied into stopping social media. But he says she has to take down her racy photos and also she has to convert to Islam. He says he has two choices, his honour or Brittany. So in the midst of all this arguing, and super fibs from both parties, Brittany tells one more lie, and she tells Yazan that she has to go back to Chicago to see her brand new niece, and she boards a flight to go home. Really, she's actually going home in an attempt to try and sort out her divorce. Or in fact, as we discussed last week, to make the initial filing for her divorce. And if you guys haven't seen last week's video, I'm going to tag it here. And it's just pretty much a rundown of what a liar Brittany is. And so we begin this week's episode with Yazan telling us he was not expecting what's just happened. What's that, Yazan? That your Insta model has had to jet off on an unscheduled trip of an unspecified nature? Really? The Ebird was just surprised it took this long for it to happen. And then Yazan tells us that he misses her and that she's been gone for 3 weeks, and during this time he's been going through lots of hard times, all by himself, and he doesn't know what to do. So Yazan goes to see his friend Mohammed, and he explains to us that Mohammed knows him better than any other person, and he asks Mohammed for his advice. And they sit down in a cafe, and Yazan tells Mohammed that as soon as Brittany left for America, that his dad took him to one side and he told him in no uncertain terms that he would not accept Brittany as his daughter-in-law. He doesn't believe in their relationship and he doesn't want them to get married. Don't worry, Yazan's dad, Brittany doesn't want them to get married either. And Mohammed was very quiet. He just sat opposite Yazan looking at him and he said, I see. Well, what's changed your dad's mind? To start off with, he was all for this relationship. No, he wasn't, Mohammed. He was just sizing up Brittany to see where he could stick the boot in. And Brittany being Brittany, she gave him endless opportunities. And Yazan tells him about the social media debacle. His dad asked him about the social media. Now come on, Yazan, he didn't ask about social media. He started looking at social media and he didn't like what he saw. So at this point I have to say, everything that's happened thus far is very unsurprising. I gotta tell you, if one of my brothers brought Brittany home and my parents saw her IG feed, they'd be pretty much the same. I don't think they'd be pro the relationship. So it's absolutely no surprise to me that Yazan's extremely conservative Muslim family don't like Brittany's plethora of booty shots. But Yazan's still moaning to Mohammed and he says they're old photos. Old photos? Well, I gotta say, he's probably right. They do look about 1 or 2 procedures out of date. And then Yazan's dad said 3 things to him. 1, she's playing with you. 2, she doesn't want to marry you. And 3, she's lying to you. And the Ebird agrees on all counts. Yazan's dad, you forgot number 4. She's a rubbish actor, and so is her dad. But what I found interesting with this whole story was that Mohammed didn't say anything like, oh, I think you guys are good together, or what are the photos like? And no doubt he's seen these photos. Mohammed simply said, what did you say to your dad? And Yazan said he told his dad that she's not playing, the girl is very honest, she wants to marry me, and when she comes back to Jordan, she's going to sign the papers. That's probably right. She's got diet tea papers to sign and a teeth whitening contract, not forgetting the TLC contract. Although there doesn't seem to be any sign of the record contract papers to sign or the divorce papers. But we can always live in hope. And so then Yazan tells Mohammed that his dad both fired him and gave him 5 minutes notice to vacate his bedroom if he didn't finish with Brittany. And Yazan's so in love, the poor fool, that he left. He said he stayed at his uncle's house for a night and then he spent a couple of nights on the street, but now he's got an apartment. He said he's very lonely and he's lost his whole world. He feels both helpless and weak. Yazan, you've forgotten deluded. And so Mohammed said, well, what's happening with Brittany? And Yazan said he hasn't spoken to her for a few weeks. A few weeks? Oh Lord, this tells me all I need to know. Yazan said he feels that he's not only lost his family and his job and his bedroom, but he's lost Brittany too. Oh, you haven't, Yazan. You never had Brittany. And if Brittany has gone for good, what you've lost is a lifetime of fussing and fighting. And then he told us that when he last spoke to Brittany, she demanded that he paid for her return airfare and expenses once she was in Jordan. He explained he had no money and that he was having lots of problems. He actually told her he doesn't have enough money to eat at the moment. And then he said Brittany really didn't seem to care, and she said that's what's expected of him. He said either she doesn't care about him or she's living in another world. Oh Yazan, it's not either or, it's both. And then he said he feels as if his parents might have been correct. And that's what's bothering me most. So I found this extremely strange. I assumed that whilst Brittany was in Chicago, she would still be keeping in good contact with Yazan. She hasn't spoken to him for about 3 weeks, and the Ebird has always wondered, what is it that Brittany's good at? I've been following her so-called music career, and I can testify she's not good at rapping. She doesn't seem to be that great at modelling either, and it certainly isn't acting, so I had begun to wonder, what are Brittany's skills? But you guys, wonder no more. Brittany's good at coronavirus rules. She's so good at socially distancing. She hasn't bothered to call Yazan for 3 weeks. Yay! Round of applause everybody, we've finally found out what Brittany's main skills are. So Mohammed said, do you want your friend's advice? Oh yes please Mohammed, let's hope that you can impart some words of wisdom for Yazan. And then he said, Yazan, I see that you're the only one sacrificing. What? Brittany's supposed to be converting to Islam. She's supposed to be deleting the whole of her Instagram and her social media, and she's moving away from friends and family to Jordan, allegedly. So it's not exactly true that you are the only one sacrificing. But Yazan said straight away, yeah, that's true. And then Mohammed said, well, if that's what you think, then you should leave her. Mohammed, is that all you've got? From everything that you've seen and heard about this girl, from the way she's treated your friend, all you've got is you're the only one sacrificing. And I've got to tell you, I think his analysis of the situation falls somewhat short of what I expected. Dr. Kirk can certainly rest easily with Mohammed in town. But Yazan tells him, I can't leave her. I love the girl so much, that's the really big problem. And then Mohammed tells production he never ever thought this relationship would go well. He thought it was a failure from the start and he doesn't like Brittany at all. But production failed to ask him why. And Mohammed ends by saying that Yazan is drowning in love for Brittany. And that's the major problem. And so we end this segment with Yazan saying he always felt smart and he always thought he made the correct decisions, but now he's beginning to doubt himself. He says he's truly lost. And that's where we end the story for this week. So what does the Ebird make from all of this? And so guys, you already know what I think of this relationship with regard to Brittany's intentions. I think she's in it for fame and followers. And it seems to me Yazan has gambled everything on this girl. And she's nearly, but I think not quite as bad as Big Ed for her lying skills. She's got him kicked out, she's fractured his relationship with his parents, and he's lost his job, but she doesn't really seem to care. But we've already gone over this. What I want to talk about is what Yazan has done in this relationship. So Yazan knew very well that his parents were very strict Muslims. And so as soon as Brittany came over, he said, my parents are expecting us to marry within a few days. I need you to convert to being Muslim and I need you to wipe your social media accounts. And the worst thing about this I find is that he didn't say anything to Brittany before she came. He waited until she came over, allegedly forever, before he said anything. I believe Yazan set himself up for failure when he failed to speak about this prior to Brittany coming over to live in Jordan. And I think that most of us can really see who Brittany is. With her rap and her Instagram, she is somewhat of a wannabe and you can tell she wants clout. And although we might think that Yazan should have seen all of this, and to some extent I think he should have been definitely more cognizant. Maybe if he hasn't come across this kind of girl before, he doesn't know how easy or difficult it's going to be to get her to comply to what he wants, and to get her to ostensibly change her life and the whole of her modus operandi, and pretty much the whole of her personality. I think that he thought he could convince her once he was here and that their love was going to be enough to make her conform to his lifestyle. But I do definitely think that Yazan has done wrong by promising things to his parents that Brittany has not promised, or that in fact Brittany had no prior knowledge of, because then his parents are waiting for all these things to happen, and of course when they don't, Yazan is under the ultimate pressure, so he's managed to put himself under even more pressure than he otherwise would be under. Now let's get on to Mohammed. Oh Mohammed, you might be a very useful friend, but you haven't given any useful advice. He has no elaboration on Brittany's faults. All he managed to say to Yazan was, you've made all the sacrifices, which is actually, for once, and I don't like to have to side with Brittany, but that's actually not true. What I think Mohammed should be saying is, there's too big of a gulf in the way that both of you behave and your culture to actually make this work. And he should also focus in on the fact that she knows he's in trouble, but yet she hasn't spoken to him for 3 weeks. I think this would hit home. Brittany's been actually quite callous because at the worst time of Yazan's life, which she knows to some extent has been caused by her inclusion in his life, she's basically piling on more pressure and she's telling him, I want you to pay for plane tickets. Brittany, you decided to go home, so why should he pay? As you stated before, he's already paid for 2 lots of plane tickets for you. How many more? Every time on a whim that you want to go back to the States, is it for Yazan to pay? And also, it hasn't escaped my notice that you make money from the show. So as we all know, the Americans actually get paid a couple of grand, or 2.5 grand I think it is, per episode. But Yazan doesn't get paid anything. So why is it when you're making money from this relationship, why do you think that Yazan should have to pay for you deciding to go home? Brittany's sold her raggedy soul for a buck. And even though she thinks fame and fortune await her, I think everybody's seen through her to such a point that it's not really going to benefit her in any meaningful way. So guys, I want you to weigh in. Let me know what you think. My first question to you is, what would your family think if you or your brother or one of your family members brought Brittany home and they managed to see her social media platform? How many people think their parents would be accepting of that? And as we know, Brittany's defence was, these photos are private. No, they're not, they're public, evidenced by the fact that someone in Jordan has managed to get hold of them. And also, if you look at the actual photos, they are very much sexual photos. It's not photos that you've just happened to take on holiday when you and your girls are in your bikinis and you're jumping in the pool. She's actually giving the world a glimpse of her money shot. Also, do you guys think that Brittany is the female Ed? Do you think she's completely pulling the wool over Yazan's eyes just for fame? I think that she is, but I also find that Yazan has also told a few lies. I don't think his lies are anywhere near as bad, but he really has tried to push his agenda without consulting Brittany first. So that is definitely a problem. And as we know, he gave Brittany 3 days to decide if she wants to become a Muslim or not. And I think for anyone, that's a pretty big ask. So guys, let me know what you think in comments down below, and I will see you very soon. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, make Ebird a very happy Ebird. And thank you so much for listening. I do definitely appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for bearing with me this week, and I will try and do another video for you guys before the week's out. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.